The best AMD graphics cards deliver excellent performance while keeping things affordable. Though the company has always made pocketbook-friendly GPU, Team Red also has started producing some powerful models that can handle any graphically demanding tasks that you need them to. Whether it's the latest and greatest AA title or 3D design, you can find an AMD card that's more than capable. Number 1. AMD Radeon RX 6800. Despite AMD's past focus on budget graphics, the AMD Radeon RX 6800 proves that you don't need an NVIDIA GPU for high-end gaming. In fact, this graphics card is more than capable of delivering 4K performance, beating out some similarly spec models from the competition. For instance, when we pitted the RX 6800 against the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070, one of the best mid-tier GPU out there, we found the AMD card to be up to 27% faster in many of our benchmarks. Of course, its ray tracing isn't quite as well implemented as the 3070, which seems to work better when gaming in 1440. But, in terms of sheer power, the RX 6800 comes out ahead. It is a little more expensive than the RTX 3070, but, in terms of value, this GPU is probably AMD's best option for most people wanting solid 4K or great 1440 gaming. While the AMD Radeon RX 6800 may not be the outright most powerful graphics card from AMD, it's our favorite choice for most gamers due to its fine balance between affordability and performance. This GPU is designed primarily for QHD 1440 gaming, but you can get away with 4K in some games, so long as you turn down a few settings. There are plenty of aftermarket RX 6800 graphics cards, just like all other mainstream releases from AMD and NVIDIA. Regardless of which one you eventually settle on, you'll enjoy a GPU with 16 GB of GDDR6 VRAM for storing everything your most demanding games can throw at. The core is capable of running at a speed of at least 1815 MHz without boosting. Number 2. AMD Radeon RX 6600. While many people are in the market for a graphics card that can run their favorite AA titles in 4K at 120Hz, many more are just looking for solid 1080 performance in a price range they can afford. Luckily, the AMD Radeon RX 6600 more than fits that bill. It won't set you back an arm and a leg for the price of entry. Additionally, it won't require you to upgrade your PC power supply either. Our testing shows that it can deliver 60 FPS in games like Horizon Zero Dawn in 1080. And, while we did experience an okay 45 FPS with Metro Exodus with ray tracing turned on, that's still fairly impressive considering that ray tracing is still NVIDIA's domain. If you're on a budget, we highly recommend this GPU. It's affordable without you having to go back a generation or two, and it does what it's supposed to well. However, if you're hoping to eventually move up to 1440 gaming, we suggest saving a little extra and going for the AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT. If all you require is a budget-friendly GPU that's both great for 1080 gaming and can easily fit inside smaller PC builds, look no further than the AMD Radeon RX 6600 XT. This is a fantastic GPU at the lower end of the catalog from AMD with support for ray tracing, though whether you should enable it is an entirely different story. We've got HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 1.4, a core clock speed of 2359 MHz, and a full 6 GB of GDDR6 VRAM. But that's not all. AMD managed to keep the power draw down considerably, rating the card at just 160 W for TDP. This means you won't require too much in the form of additional cooling, and the RX 6600 XT shouldn't get too hot. Number 3. AMD Radeon RX 6950 XT. The AMD Radeon RX 6950 XT might be a transitional GPU, and a more powerful card might be on the horizon when the next generation of cards come out. But, for now, the 6950 XT is the most robust GPU in AMD lineup. It can almost go toe-to-toe with the NVIDIA GeForce 3090 with some of its gaming performance while costing less than not only the RTX 3090 but the RTX 3080 Ti as well. Of course, our testing shows that's not the case when ray tracing is on, and we found it to be lacking a bit in relation to those NVIDIA cards when it comes to creative tasks as well. But, if you want a powerhouse from Team Red for your favorite AA games and are willing to lower the ray tracing settings, the AMD Radeon RX 6950 XT is the card for you. Number 4. AMD Radeon RX 6600 XT. The AMD Radeon RX 6600 XT is possibly the best option in the company's lineup if you're looking for a GPU for 1008 at gaming. It might not be the cheapest, but it's still affordable, so you don't have to splurge for that power. And it can handle just about anything at 1008 with aplomb. It also offers great thermal performance and doesn't consume too much power. Its fiercest competition is the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060, and while the 3060 is $50/PS50 cheaper, we found the 6600 XT to perform 10 to 15% better in most of our testing. That difference in pricing and performance does make choosing between the two a bit more difficult than it should be. While its ray tracing leaves a bit to be desired, an ongoing theme with AMD cards, the inclusion of Radeon Boost, a software feature that prioritizes performance over image fidelity, will appeal to competitive gamers. Number 5. AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT. If you're looking to upgrade your GPU but are not quite ready to spend your way into 4K gaming, something like the AMD Radeon RX 6700 XT might be the perfect graphics card for you. It won't set you back an entire paycheck even if it's still a hefty sum, costing just slightly under $500/PS500, which is slightly less than NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070. In our testing, we were impressed that it was able to deliver 60+ FPS at 1440 for just about every title we threw at it. However, we did see a significant drop in frame rates when we turned on ray tracing. That said, it does support ray tracing, and if you're willing to turn the resolution down to 1008, you can experience ray tracing while still getting solid performance. Number 6. AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT. Though most AMD graphics cards are great thanks to their value-to-power ratio, there are few AMD models that have the muscle to compete for space in the high-end GPU market. The AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT is one of those cards with its robust 4K performance. Yes, its ray tracing isn't as good as the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080, and its performance lags a little behind in some instances as well. But in others, it actually outperforms the RTX 3080. Specifically when running on DEX 1.0. In our testing, we found the 6800 XT to be up to 9% faster in certain games such as Assassin's Creed, Odyssey, and Grand Theft Auto V. If you're looking for a GPU from Team Red to work or play in 4K, then consider the AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT. Number 7. AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT. Designed with 1008 gaming in mind, the AMD Radeon RX 5500 XT is plenty powerful for gamers on a budget. Sure, it's far from the most powerful graphics card out there as it's been around for a while, but it's got enough juice for its price point, making it an easy choice when put up against something like the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 for the value. When we tested the 5500 XT, not only were we impressed by how little power it needed to run, but also how we were able to run most games at 6 TIFs. Though it did struggle with more demanding titles like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Metro Exodus, since it can't quite keep up on the high settings of AA titles. We recommend this card for someone wanting to put together a budget build and willing to turn down some settings when playing. During this process, we retest all current generation graphics cards whenever a new one comes out and ensure that all of the cards are tested on the same hardware, the same processor, the same memory at the same speed, the same motherboard, and the same SSD. That way, we can be sure that we're measuring how the graphics card itself is performing, and we can more reliably compare it against its rivals. We also make sure to log how much power it's consuming and the temperatures it reaches under load, to make sure we can recommend it to people that may be concerned about high temperatures in their PC.